tonight I wanted to give you guys a few tips on how to be more assertive with your dogs in public. And you know, it's kind of a hot topic among dog trainers about the public petting their dogs and being so disrespectful, just assuming that they can just rush up and pet your dog and hug your dog and all that crap. And they're absolutely right. I mean, the public is like that. They will just come right up and want to pet your dog. They won't ask. Or while they're asking, they're actually doing it. They're not really waiting to get a response out of you or anything like that. So, you know, this has happened to me many times in public because I've trained a lot of pet dogs, and I typically will take those pet dogs out into public spaces like many other of my dog training friends will do. And so I have to deal with the public with these dogs, and oftentimes these dogs have a bite history. So I have to be, you know, careful about that people don't engage with these dogs. So I just want to tell you what I do, because I haven't had conflict with the public. I haven't had difficulty with the public. And I had to, you know, just thinking about what exactly I do that prevents that conflict. And so here's the tips. The first one is, if you're walking down the street, or you're walking down a boardwalk for that matter in the summer along a, you know, a harbor side or something like that where there's a lot of traffic, I can hear the people as they approach say something about the dog. The first thing that I do not do is give the person eye contact. Never look at the people that say, "Oh, look at the dog," and they're starting to approach you. That's the first thing. I do not give them that visual engagement, because that's an invitation. As soon as you make contact with them, they're coming at you. It's almost an invitation in their mind. Even though you're saying, "Please stop, you know, don't pet my dog," they're coming. So the first tip, do not give eye contact. The second thing I do, as soon as I know that they're interested in approaching my dog, I look at my dog and demand engagement from my dog to look at me. And if it's a pet dog, I might get some food out, and I will reinforce that heel, and I'll start giving the dog treats as I continue to move forward. And you could call it a combination tip, but that continuing to move, you focusing on the dog. When I do that in that context, in that situation, I've never had a person come up to the dog. What I will hear is, "Oh, I guess they're training," or, you know, this disappointment. But I refuse to engage with them. I didn't have the conversation about "no, please don't." And they can tell by the fact that I'm looking at my dog, the dog is working with me, we continue to move. And then they get disappointed. But they don't engage, they don't come up to the dog, because we never stopped. So if you're moving, keep moving, don't give eye contact, get your dog's attention, keep going forward. So that's one way of handling that situation. If you're sitting on a bench and a kid wants to run up and give your dog a big bear hug, or people for that matter want to come up, or they're coming towards you with their dog who's on a retractable that's just coming out at you, which is also pretty normal stuff that can happen in public, that's when I body block. And what I mean is, and this is where you have to be assertive, and I think people need to actually practice these things. In order to be able to do it, you need to practice it when you don't need it. And what I'm talking about is that you get up and you stand between your dog and the child, the adult, the other dog, and you body block. And if need be, get out of there. But when I've done that, I just haven't had a lot of issue. Because, again, I pretend, or I assume, or I act as if no one in the public space speaks English. They don't understand anything coming out of my mouth. They're certainly not listening. So physically, I get up and body block. And that has worked fine for me. Never had a problem. And one thing that my wife came up with, which she says to people that want to pet her dogs, is that instead of saying, like if I had an aggressive dog and I said, well, the dog's not good with people, the dog's, has some aggression, that can create some back and forth. Well, why is the dog in public? Why is this dangerous dog out here? My kid could get bit by your dog, all that kind of bullshit. So what she says is, and it's true, she says, my dog thinks everybody is her friend and loves everybody. So I'm trying to teach her that not everybody is going to come up and pet her, which I think is an easier way to diffuse the situation. But that's, again, assuming that the public is logical, which they're not. So you want to body block. The third situation is if you're in motion with your dog and there's another dog coming, you don't know if that dog is friendly. The people typically have no control of the dog. It's pulling. If there's tension on a leash, the potential for aggression goes up exponentially. Usually if dogs are off leash, it's a much safer situation, but we have a dog pulling, restrained, trying to get at you. What I do is I just pull the leash. I'll take, if the leash is on in this hand, my dog is here, they're coming in this direction, I will just transfer that leash over. Now my dog is over here. And again, I am body blocking that other dog. So those are 3 different ways to diffuse and avoid the public having contact with your dog. And of course, I would never tie my dog to a lamppost and go in and get a cup of coffee. I'd be afraid someone would untie my dog and take him, put him in a van and take off. The dog would be stolen. But the other thing is, somebody else with a dog that isn't good with other dogs could come walking up on your dog, and your dog could be, working from a deficit, getting into a fight and being tied, and or the dog, some little kid could come up and start poking at it or doing some bullshit you can't control. So I would never do that. And I only say it because I see it all the time. So that's about it. I hope it helps you. I didn't mean to go on and on, but there's just a few ways that you can diffuse that situation without feeling like an asshole, because nobody wants to feel bad. Oh, I don't want people to think I'm not a nice person. So you have that kind of thing, but then you also don't need to be aggressive. You don't need to say, hey, get the fuck away from my dog, asshole. It doesn't need to get to that point either. It's real easy. Get some engagement with your own dog. Don't give them eye contact. Keep moving. All right? Peace.